Μαζί μας τώρα η κυρία Καλογιάνοβα και η κυρία Τρένκοβα από την υπέροχη περιοχή του Παζαρτζίκ στη Βουλγαρία. Θα είναι μεγάλη χαρά μας να μας παρουσιάσουμε. Είναι ειδικοί συνεργάτες στην Περιφερειακή Διοίκηση του Παζαρτζίκ. Θα μας παρουσιάσουν τον εθελοντισμό και τις οργανώσεις πολιτών στην περιφέρειά τους και μάλιστα θα σταθούν ιδιαίτερα στον τομέα της νεολαίας. Σας ευχαριστούμε πολύ.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lyubov Trenkova from Pazardzhik Regional Administration, Bulgaria. And after so many lovely and successful presentations of volunteering work, I really don't feel I have anything new to tell you in terms of examples of volunteering work. But my colleague Gergana Kaloyanova, we work together at the administration. She has prepared a very good presentation about volunteering, what we have at the moment in our region, also some legislative background. So I'm only delivering this because I feel a little bit more confident with English, but it's mainly her contribution in terms of content. Maybe you find it interesting, but I won't take so much time because I know everybody needs a coffee and the coffee break comes after that, so we go quickly. First, a few words about the legal framework. We heard quite many definitions here about volunteering. In Bulgaria, I'll go back to what Mirela from Romania presented about volunteering in times of social regime. We had absolutely the same situation. Volunteering then was actually something which was done obligatory, compulsory, but it was demonstrated to look as voluntary. Like, for example, what she mentioned, the so-called, we call them the students' brigades, something which we used to do in our vacations, during our students' summer vacations. We went in the fields to pick grapes, to pick up peppers, anything in agricultural work, lived in camps. Things that a student wouldn't do if you asked them to do it voluntarily. Maybe nowadays some of them would do it, but back then it was something obligatory. Another example is the so-called manifestations, which we had for public holidays. These were the demonstrations that maybe you saw on TV, with many people going down Main Street with flags and so on, to look like voluntary celebration of the parties, you know, something. But these were all events which were obligatory for us to go, not only for workers but for students as well, to have as many people shown on the street as possible. So I just mentioned this because I wanted to keep in the back of your minds that we come from a different background. We have absolutely different traditions in terms of volunteering. Actually, real volunteering has started in Bulgaria very recently. Many years after the changes, after people got used to the fact that they are free to express their real opinion. Because keep again in your minds that back then it was not healthy to express your real opinion in public places. That's why it's very recently that people really started to regard volunteering in terms of an activity of the heart, as your colleague mentioned earlier. Very good words about this, I love it. So talking about this type of volunteering, we have a lot to learn from you. But back to what we try to formulate in terms of legislation, because we don't even have, I guess you have a regulatory background of volunteering more than 20 years ago, as I understand that you have had volunteering here in Nea Smyrni more than 20 years ago. It started with the Red Cross. So probably you have a regulatory background. We have some kind of law, national law or legislation about volunteering, but in Bulgaria we don't have even this. Right now, a law on volunteering has been, still is under discussion. It has been since the beginning of 2015. So only 1 year since we started to have some legislation work on volunteering. Some public consultation was carried out with the NGO sector on the draft proposal. And actually this draft proposal, still a draft, is the first legal act to deal with social relations with regards to organized volunteer activities. Again, talking about the kind of volunteer activities that you are talking about and performing, have been carrying out for years. Also, this legal draft as an act was developed and eventually proposed to be adopted in accordance with the European Parliament legislative resolution of 26th of November 2009 on the proposal for a Council decision on the European Year of Volunteering. This was 2011, was the European Year of Volunteering. The objective of the draft proposal is to establish the legal background for volunteering as a basis to encourage active civil participation. Also to further develop the civil society, which has, as I told you, been very underdeveloped back in social times, and very slowly started to develop after the changes, because it was a process that needed for people to change their minds, to feel their freedom, and to have trust, you know, that they can express their real opinion in public without consequences. So this is an act that will further develop our civil society and strengthen solidarity. Also, it provides for the necessary conditions to define the actual legal status of volunteers and their organizations. As I said, right now we don't have any regulatory framework to have an actual legal status of such organizations. However, this proposal for law on volunteering has still not been adopted by the Bulgarian legislator, by the parliament. Civil organizations have undertaken very broad discussions on this, because this is their field of work, most of them. About their opinion, we can say that even though they have generally approved the kind of draft that's prepared, they feel very apprehensive that there will be a too big administrative burden to be imposed on volunteering activities in terms of administrative procedures to regulate, to register, to have a volunteering organization registered in court, and so on. Back to the definition of the concept of volunteering. Again, currently we don't have a legal definition of the concept of volunteer, or the rights or obligations of volunteers, or the type of preparatory training that they should have. These are issues that should be regulated. This is what the law is prepared for. So there are no guaranteed safety provisions also. It's not clear who is going to provide for insurance, because volunteer work very often, especially for civil crises, you know, for emergency situations, require that some insurance is made for volunteer people who volunteer. So, but so far we can say that in Bulgaria we have some provisions on youth volunteering. And these are established to a certain extent in the law on young people. We have a law on young people. There, in this law, some activities for young people listed are activities which support volunteering. So from there, we can have a definition. We have a definition there on volunteering. That's the only one which we have legally established in Bulgaria. And I'll read it for you. It's youth volunteering involves activity for the benefit of society, carried out unpaid or for free by young people on the territory of Bulgaria or in another country, under programs or initiatives in the field of social, youth, sports and other activities of significance to the society as a whole. That's the current definition that we currently use for young people's volunteering activity. This law on young people encourages their volunteering activities, and it states that these should be carried out based on some principles, among them the principle of free choice, the fact that the work will be unpaid, the principle of having personal responsibility, equality and respect for the life, health and dignity of the volunteers. And of course there's a provision for minor young people who have not reached the age of 18, for example, in Bulgaria the case. They can participate in such activities, but only upon prior written consent of their parents or their legal representatives. And of course some forbidden things. It's forbidden to assign to volunteers who are minors under the age of 18 tasks for which it is not allowed, or it is there is a restriction under the current legislation, to be carried out by certain categories of persons due to the heavy, harmful or dangerous nature of those tasks. Also, when minor people are involved in youth volunteering, the organizers of the activities should provide for adult instructor. Another thing which concerns the volunteering of young people is that each volunteer shall be given work safety instructions or some specialized trainings to be which should be provided beforehand by the organizers. And also this law on young people stipulates that whenever young people take part in a volunteering activity and they need some kind of a document to certify that they have participated, because many times nowadays such a document is required for the CV, for your academia later, or for anything, the organizer of the activity should issue such a document for participation. So maybe I was going to talk a little bit about strategic background, but I don't want to really bore you any more with legislatory material. and maybe move on to the examples of volunteering. Sorry, Gergana, for skipping these 3 slides. You know, you've made the effort to talk about the strategic guidelines, but a few examples. I don't think I'll tell you anything new, but anyway, you have an idea what's going on in Bulgaria so far. Again, keeping in the back of your minds what I mentioned about the background. So, one very, modern activity, which is actually has been going on for the past years on a national scale. It's the campaign Let's Clean Bulgaria. Actually, it's part of the campaign Let's Do It, going on throughout Europe. I think you probably have it in Greece, I'm sure. And it's organized each year, entirely a volunteering activity. And for the territory of the Pazagic region, our administration is actually the driver and the organizer in terms of, material support whenever something is needed to be provided of the event. But the participation of the citizens in the region is entirely voluntary, and usually the participation of our citizens in Pazagic region is always higher than the average in the country. Here I can present also one foundation, volunteer organization, currently registered as an NGO, since we don't have the law on volunteering, so all such legal status organizations have the legal status of NGOs. It is again a big, wide national scale foundation, National Alliance for Volunteer Action. It is among the most active NGOs in the field of volunteering, established in Plovdiv, which is very close to Pazagic, and we are both in the same south-central region of Bulgaria. But I told you it's national, and it has 50 centers throughout the country. In Pazagic, it has two centers, local organizations who are hosting the National Foundation. These are the library, the public library in Pazagic, and Roma Foundation in the town of Rakitovo, which is also in the Pazagic region. And some examples of activities which carry out this NGO. They are a major partner of the current national campaign, very popular now for this time, Easter, before Easter. It's called Easter for All. Offer a gift of holiday for grandma, grandpa. It is under the auspices of the Ombudsman of Bulgaria, Mrs. Manolova. It involves many famous people from all kinds of fields who actually are involved in making the campaign public. And the aim of the campaign is to support retired people who have incomes or pensions a little bit above the minimum, which is usually supported by the state. So donations are welcome, so that eventually this foundation issues vouchers, which are given to the amount of 20 leva, which is 10 euro. But for Bulgaria, for a pensioner who gets a little bit more than 300 leva, which is 150 euro per month, it is not a bad additional amount. And such vouchers are given to such people. The lists of such people are drawn by local pensioners clubs, which we have in every city, in every town. And the vouchers are distributed with the help of the municipalities. And with these vouchers, they can go to 5,000 supermarkets around the country and buy food or whatever they need. That's a very, currently very popular volunteering activity nationwide. Another example of volunteering activity of this foundation is a shop for dressmaking and tailoring. It is in the field of social work, of course. It is for young people from vulnerable groups. And the idea is it's a sort of social enterprise, which has the objective of teaching and eventually providing jobs, so helping young people to get jobs on the labor market, especially for young people from vulnerable groups. The aim is to help them find work, but through training before this in this dressmaking and tailoring shop. Another example of volunteering is the Red Cross, but Youth Red Cross. In Bulgaria, we have a national organization, which is just like the Red Cross everybody knows about, but it's for young people, Youth Red Cross. Their activities are mainly focused in directions which concern children and young people, mainly 5 basic fields: social assistance, they work with children in social institutions, various services for children. In the field of health or awareness, they have campaigns for the prevention of HIV and AIDS, prevention of addictions also. They provide training for first aid, for youth teams, emergency teams, in schools also. Also some psychological support, and also some initiatives on road safety for children and students. Of course, they support the introduction of humanitarian principles and the values, humanitarian values. And they carry out some international activities, of course. A few examples of some of their activities in our region, but actually, since it's a national organization, again, it's usually a national event, national type of activity which is carried out in every region. For example, they have this activity for road safety in line with UN's 3rd Global Week for Road Safety, raising awareness of population. And this activity which they carry out together with the road police and the Ministry of Education. They have this special competition with questions and answers which they put and provide from children about road safety. Usually they involve children from schools. And they also demonstrate some first aid actions, again, in view of preventing road safety. They had another, I would say, more cultural campaign. You know, I think you have it in Greece as well, the Martenica, the white and red symbol, which we give away on 1st of March to wish health and good year to everybody. So they have this, they have several years now, have this campaign. They go around the town, in our case in Pazagic region, 34 volunteers, and they give away martenicas to people they see on the street. These are usually, it's very, it's very nice to see a young person approaching you as you walk down the street and giving you a martinis and wishing you, giving you a smile, greeting you for the first March day. And of course they donate martinis to orphanages and to specialized social homes for children. Interesting activity, I know you know about this because I think our colleague mentioned it yesterday, that you also have here a youth parliament. We have such activity in one of our towns, which is part of Pazardzhik region. It's called Konegyushte. So you know what it is about. It's volunteering schoolgirls and boys who have a session once a month, just like the city council has a session discussing problems of the municipality, but mainly youth problems. So, and they inform about their discussions the real councillors, so that they take consideration of the point of views of young people. This is a very good example of participation of young people into political decision making. And of course they do some volunteering in terms of organization of celebrations for disadvantaged people, charity initiatives and so on. One example of I would say it's a volunteering activity of mainly private persons. You know, the Rotary, I'm sure you have it here, the Rotaract clubs, they are international ones. So example of the Rotaract Pazardzhik club, they joined the project Green Week, which is a project of the Rotaract clubs around the world, the organization, planting trees. And the idea was to go and plant, they planted more than 350 trees in Bulgaria in total for last year. Not only Bulgaria actually, Greece, Serbia and Nepal. And every next year the participants in the initiative are increasing. This year they were also from Italy, from USA, Morocco, Algeria, Pakistan, Poland. And the Pazardzhik club planted trees in the largest and most popular park of the town, called Ostrova. It's a place which is where, it's an island where the river Marica splits. And it has been a very popular place for vacation or entertainment. So they made a forest of trees there, Rotaract forest in the park. Another activity of a similar club, the Lions Club, they are very also active. It involves people, it's an international organization. It involves people under the slogan, we serve the society. And people are members of this club in Pazardzhik, just like everywhere, are usually well-known professionals, businessmen who work together to improve the social environment and the business environment in their communities. And at the moment, the campaign that's run by the International Lions Clubs is Sight Most of All, for people with impaired vision. And their aim is to reduce or to eliminate entirely blindness, which is avoidable and reversible. Of course, apart from this, which is initiative of the International Club, our local Pazardzhik club has its own initiatives. They involve children many times. They just had this festival on bravery and goodness, and a rock concert accompanied it. And the festival involved kids artists, mainly from the field of applied art. It was held on a special children's playground, which was built by the same Lions Club, Ladies Lions Club in Pazaji, with their support. And it was an interesting event where, by means of products of applied art, answers were given to kids' questions. What is the weight of goodness, for example, or what is the color of bravery? And it was quite an interesting initiative. They also provide a mobile consulting room for sight disorder, going back to their international campaign fighting sight problems and blindness. And this Lions Rock concert was also an accompanying event that was held again in the largest park in the city, with the performers from Pazajic area. National Youth Forum is an NGO organization of a big platform. It's actually the largest youth platform in Bulgaria, which brings together 40 youth NGOs, registered and active in the field of youth issues. One of the co-founders of this is our regional governor. He will be, Mr. Trendafil Velichko, he will be plans to visit you in your June event, when more concentrated discussions will be held on you, I know. So he will tell you more details about this forum, the activities, and so on. And maybe finally, because we said that we'll be talking not only of volunteering, but also NGOs, which is, again, something new for Bulgaria. As I told you, NGOs as an expressive organizations of civil participation have started work only very recently. A very successful one is the so-called EAGER Fund. They are absolute innovators, one of the first NGOs maybe to be registered officially and to be active in our region especially, but not only in our region. Actually, the field of their work was very interesting and very innovative for Bulgaria by the time they started doing it. But right now they are doing many other things, so we'll need a dedicated presentation to present to you all of their activities. But the thing that they are known and really were innovative for is that when they were founded in 1998, this was the years when NGOs and civil participation started to gain some trust and some will to participate really as a voice of citizens in policy and decision making. So by then, they were established with the idea of having in legislation a provision about probation. Probation, maybe some of you know, is a sort of punishment, which is alternative punishment to imprisonment in case of legal offense. So for Bulgaria, this was very, very innovative then. We didn't have an idea about this. And it was very difficult for only an NGO to do it. They did it with the support of the British Foreign Department, I think it was, through many trainings, through a lot of work with the Ministry of Justice in Bulgaria. They managed to introduce in our law this type of punishment. Eventually, they provided a lot of trainings to many people who actually became eventually probation specialists. They had more than 30 information campaigns and trainings for police officers, for magistrates, for prosecutors, judges, all that kind of professionals who act in this field. And of course they had a nationwide probation popularization events to just let the people know about this, because it was absolutely new there. Of course, they eventually provided social services to 700 persons who had sentences, and these services included probation. Of course, nowadays they do a lot of work in the field of drug prevention, AIDS prevention, social mediation, and many publications as well. So thank you for your attention and your patience. If you have any questions, then Gergana will be happy to.
Υπάρχει κάποια ερώτηση? Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ. Δείχνει ότι έχετε κάνει μια καταπληκτική δουλειά στην περιφέρειά σας και νομίζω ότι ήταν ένα ερέθισμα για να έχουμε μια πολύ καλή πληροφόρηση και να εφαρμόσουμε κάποια πράγματα που πραγματικά είναι πάρα πολύ εξαιρετικά που έχετε κάνει στην περιφέρειά σας. Σας ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ.